Hello and welcome to another video. In today's video we're going to do some more investigation and a bit of work on the tiny Motostandard 1010. We've done a bit more research between these two videos on the Motostandard, and we found out a couple of things. First of which, the seat base is the wrong way round, as is the rear fender. This side is less curved and has less shaping on, and that side should be facing the front, which it doesn't, and the closed side of the seat base should also face the front. Which we found from some pictures online. So that's some stuff to do. And we've had a look around for some parts, any parts we've got for this tractor with minimal success. But before we start working on it, we need to put it on our hydraulic workbench. Now, to put the Motostandard on our workbench, we had to take off our wheel horse Raider 9. Which meant that we have the opportunity, before we put the Motostandard on the bench, to do a quick size comparison. Which there isn't a massive difference, but if you think that the wheel horse is small compared to a Bolan's anyway, a Motostandard would look very small next to a Bolan's. We've got the tractor up on the bench now, and we've removed the top part of the hood to give us more access, and the first job we're going to do is take out the engine, which it looks as though the starter motor has already been removed from the engine for some reason. But there's 4 bolts holding the engine onto the chassis. However, looking from underneath it, we're going to have to take this pulley off to actually lift the engine up. And as you can see attached to this pulley, not sure if you can see on camera, but there is the drive belt. So the belt we found snapped sitting on top of it must have been a PTO belt. When we're starting one of these projects, usually when the tractor is as filthy as this, we would pressure wash it before we even touch it. You can see we didn't do this for this one. It's just covered in grime on top and under the chassis as well, because we thought the main thing that had dirt on it was the engine, and that was coming out, so we didn't pressure wash it. But under the chassis it's equally as dirty. But for once I am manning the camera, and we'll get Dad to lift out the engine. But before we do that, just a quick thing to say, a bit of an odd mixture on this tractor, because the tractor is German, which means that it uses metric bolts on most of the stuff. But then the engine, being Briggs & Stratton, has imperial fixings on it. So it's a bit of a weird mix there, but let's get the camera around to lift out the engine.
Or try to.
Yep, or try to. There we go, it's off. Now with the engine out, we also took out the battery. You can see there's a lot more space here now, but it has uncovered all of this muck, which a lot of this is oil, which we're not going to give this a full clean up, but we do need it a bit better than it is. So we're going to try out something that we bought, which is this WD-40 Specialist Fast Acting Degreaser. Which this isn't a paid product placement for WD-40, it's just something that we bought to try out since we haven't used this degreaser before. So I'm just going to spray some on here, and then we'll leave it a couple of minutes and then wipe it off. Quite impressed with how it started to lift up some of the grease and dirt instantly. In the instructions or directions it says to use a cloth or a brush to agitate some of the dirt as well. So I'm going to just use a bit of tissue here and see what it's done. You can see here it's actually got off a lot of this grease that was previously stuck on. We weren't intending to actually clean this up this well, but it just turned out this good with that degreasing stuff, so I'm very impressed with this actually. Did a good job there. And one of the parts that we found when we were hunting around in our parts store for this tractor was this bracket here. So I'll just quickly spray a bit of this on here to get off all of that thick grease as well. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the rear fender and seat pan, which is held on by these 4 bolts underneath, which then have captive nuts underneath this part of the chassis. So I'll just start loosening these off. We've now removed the seat and the seat frame and the rear fender off camera. And the other thing we've done since the last clip is we've taken off the monster rear tow bar / attachment thing. And you can see how over-engineered it is. Which we do struggle with over-engineering things, but hopefully we've improved a slight bit with not over-engineering stuff as much since we made this thing. But as we've been working on this tractor, we've noticed a number of oddities, which I'll go through quickly now. First of which is the fact that pretty much in every moving part of the steering there appears to be wear. And also on the axle you can see how much that moves side to side, which is really not encouraging. Then moving on to clutch, it also makes some strange noises. So if you ignore the sound of the spring, almost like a knocking sound you can hear. So that'll need to be investigated. And also the gear stick seems as though it might have been bent at some point. Now most of these issues, we've come to the conclusion that they might actually be easier to fix looking at it from the underside of the tractor. Which realistically would mean putting the tractor up on end or turning it over. Which we have looked at the rear axle and we can't see an oil breather, but that doesn't mean to say there isn't one, bearing in mind there could be one that we can't see on there. So we're now going to think long and hard about these problems and what is the best way of getting to the underside of the tractor and how we do that. But we did spend quite a while today disconnecting the engine, which off camera, which with all the dirt that was on it took a lot longer than it should have done. And we've run out of time now, so that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed. Comments welcome and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.